blazing a new trail, blazing things in the Blazer.
Sure.
Ford has a truck with a B name, a hallowed B name.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So does Chevy, the Blazer.
That's interesting.
And yet they have squandered their opportunity because the Blazer is just, it's a boxy, cool, off-road thing.
It was.
It was. It's not part of the 5-seat, 7-seat SUV thing that everybody is buying just because they want to sit up high and they need space for family and kids and dog and all that stuff. I'm a little frustrated about this because I like this. I like this SUV. Everything that I interact with, every place that I sit, I'm going, this is just great. Everything is good, except for the name.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
It's an intellectual property discussion is what it is. We own the rights to use the name. We can get the website. This is the conversation that's going on.
Yes.
And I don't understand why they didn't do a Blazer to compete with the Bronco and the Wrangler when they could have.
Yeah.
And I agree with you in that regard completely. What I'm struggling with is similar, but not just based in the name, but it's I think we're coming at the same issue from a different place.
Probably so.
And that is, this has been around for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And from the moment they introduced it, they were talking about how it has Camaro-inspired styling, exterior and interior. This is the interior of a Camaro in an SUV now.
Yeah.
To give it flavor, to give it style and interest.
It's got flavor.
Seriously, it has flavor crystals. Yay!
How are the flavors?
You know, all of that's happening. So it's so very influenced by Camaro. This is designed for dad who really wanted to get a Camaro.
Or mom. Anybody.
For sure. And has too many kids and stuff and dogs to get a Camaro, and they're only getting one car, so buy the Blazer. It's the Camaro for you, though you need 5 seats.
Sure.
This is the thinking. And I actually have to say, as much as I feel like that's ridiculous marketing speak, I think it works better than I expected, with one problem.
Okay.
This is what the Equinox should be, and the Equinox shouldn't exist. That's the big takeaway I have. The Equinox is Blandsville.
There's dollars to be earned in the market segments. They've got to serve every market niche. Well, this is shared with many other vehicles. The GMC Acadia, the Buick Enclave, the Chevy Traverse, the first generation Cadillac XT5, the Cadillac XT6. Did you know that there is a Blazer XL 3-row only available in China, and a baby Buick Enclave also available only in China?
Is that called the Enclavelet?
That's good.
Yes, come on,
it should
Chevy,
be.
we're giving you stuff here.
Yes,
let's go.
I do like that. All of those are based on the same platform. But if you're looking for something that costs $48,000, that serves your needs, that drives well, built well, great amenities, good to look at, and actually on the price scale is pretty competitive, why not just go buy a Traverse or an Acadia or a Cadillac or anything else? Why does this need to exist? If you do decide you need to have this as a SUV offering, don't call it the Blazer. The only thing about this, the misstep, is the name, because everything else is great.
I think they've done well here. I think 48 is a bit high.
Sure.
I'd like to see 42, 44, and I know I'm splitting hairs here, but I feel like it's just a little higher than it should be for this 5-seat market segment, because this is a 5-seater. It's not the big 7-seaters. I feel like it's a bit high. Granted, this is the RS. It's got a little extra bells and whistles and stuff. I get that. But I feel it's a bit expensive, but I really feel we are sitting in the Equinox. And the Equinox, interestingly enough, is smaller than this.
It is.
But
it's not the same platform now.
It's not the same platform. The interior space is only fractionally bigger. So this is the Equinox.
Yeah.
This is a solid contender in that area. I just don't understand why they have a twin. It's like the less attractive twin. I hate to say it that way, but that's what the Equinox is. It's like, so do the same thing. I'm picking the Blazer.
Yes. Well, yeah. To the specs. This is the RS, which means it's the mid-trim level, and it has the 308 horsepower, 306 horsepower?
308, yes.
308, 270 pound-feet of torque, V6, which jumps. This thing moves. It's excellent. I like this engine. The other engine choice, of course, is the 2-liter with the same specs as everyone.
Everybody.
228 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, turbo, 2-liter.
Somewhere in the world, somebody is just spitting out that engine for use in every CUV in the planet. It's amazing how similar they are. And this engine is great.
It
honestly
really is. I'm thrilled with this. I expected to drive the Blazer and think, it's just going to be another SUV, and it isn't, because it turns in so well.
Yeah.
That initial turn-in is surprising. You think, well, this is actually kind of fun. This is a good recommendation for people looking. $48,000 as we've got it, 9-speed transmission. It's got the amenities that you want, and I want to talk about vents, because surely Chevy has won. Surely Chevy has pleased you. Surely with these giant Camaro vents, they've done it.
There's two thoughts here.
Tell me they've done it.
Here on vents. Yes and no. And here's why. The vents are awesome, and they do have the Chevy Camaro interaction, which I actually think is kind of cool. Some people don't like it, but I actually think it's kind of cool the way they interact with the cold and hot and the vents. I love the vent design. I love the fact that they're big hoses. All of that is
big
cool.
hoses.
Here's the problem, though.
Oh, no.
They were designed for a Camaro where the dash is here. So this is the problem, because you've taken the Camaro and you've moved the dash down, and now the vents that are awesome are by my knee. They need to be up near your chest. That is just a problem with the design and the part sharing of the Camaro. But yes, they did make big, good vents.
I mean,
so we got a mixed bag here. The vents are right, but the placement is wrong because we had to go Camaro. But I will say this, though. This interior is so much better than the one in the Equinox. Have you seen the Equinox interior?
Yes, I have.
It looks like a $20,000 car, no matter how you spec it. This looks interesting. And in the sea of SUVs and CUVs, where you look at them and they all look approximately the same, having this Camaro interior makes you go, oh, it's kind of cool.
These had to go somewhere, and I'm glad they added them. It is a counterclockwise move to get colder and a clockwise move to get hotter, and then in the middle, you've got the little flappies, and that controls it. And beyond that, you can see the honeycomb material back there, so there's actually some surprise and delight back there.
It's a little bit fascinating.
What's in the vent? I'm going to stick my finger in there.
I don't think anyone doing car videos spends as much time talking vents as you and I. I'm just saying.
You've really made me really tuned into vents now, even though I think most cars are just fine. The way it drives, it rides well. It rides well on back roads. It rides well on the freeway. It is an excellent truck, SUV, whatever you want to call this thing. I really like this, and I'm giving it praise because I didn't expect to like this at all. Because I'm not generally a fan of any of the Chevy, or for that matter, any SUV at this size.
The random mid-size 5-seaters, they struggle.
They're all just fine. They work. It's pick your brand, pick your styling, what appeals to you, what feels good to you, and great, buy that one.
And
this is great.
It's very good. Furthermore, it absolutely is the thing where this is the most successful market segment. So every brand makes their version, and you just stay within your brand. That is absolutely what all these 5-seaters are. And this somehow comes out and says, I'm a little bit interesting. In a market segment that is just a sea of sameness.
The things that make it great are the feeling that Chevy went a little bit beyond in terms of whatever the interaction is. For example, steering, that turn-in, that's a really crisp initial turn-in. Now, it's a big, heavy SUV. It's not that heavy, actually, but still, it's a large vehicle. And so it can't hang on, but that's pretty good. For this size, that's really good. 9-speed transmission, it moves. The ride is good.
Yes.
The entire truck just feels right.
Agreed. It feels like...
Which is shocking.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
I like this a lot. I would recommend this. Even at $48,000, when I think, sure, you could have a Mazda CX-9. You'll get the 2-liter engine, but it drives just about better than any other 5 or 7 passenger SUV we've ever
You're back to
driven.
their turbo now. Yeah, you're in turbo world versus
and
big
it is excellent. All right, so it's got a real shift knob. I am disappointed to see no paddles, and it does have the up-down shift buttons at your thumb.
The thumb button.
That's a little aggravating.
Also, I think beyond the fact that it's aggravating and not that easy to use, I also think it encourages one-hand driving.
Oh,
it
you're
encourages
right.
you to have one hand on the wheel because I'm busy shifting. It encourages that so much.
You're right. Darn it.
Yeah.
It seems like a good place to put them, but paddles are still better because it forces you to put your hands there, right? Styling. This is actually really good looking. I like it for a modern SUV. It feels fresh. The front end is interesting. It ties in with the rest of Chevy's lineup. It does feel like a performance vehicle. It's just the Blazer on the side of the car doesn't work.
We were doing well till we got to that name.
No. Think big box and off-road and K5 and you can lift it. It's just a truck, body on frame. That's a Blazer. This is not a Blazer. This is Chevy's excellent SUV.
Which is to be determined on what it's called.
I don't know what to call it. It's
I hear
just,
you.
I'm really thrilled with it. The interior, look, there's visual interest.
It's
It's
interesting.
It
Yes.
feels well built. The vents are gigantic, and they win. I'm
good.
just giving them first
They
place
are good.
because
Okay.
nobody has vents like this.
No, you're right.
And-
Outside of the Camaro, which has these vents.
It's a,
Yeah. That's why, yeah.
I want to pick on this, but yet I'm not going to, because anything I could find, for example, the glove box button is nowhere near the glove box. But it works fine. And once you get used to it and discover it, fine.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic buy. The rear space, have you sat back here?
It's got tons of rear space.
Yes.
It's got
great.
mountains of rear space.
This should be the one vehicle that Chevy pours every effort towards. Just get this one. You're looking for the 5-seat, just get this one. Hi, I'm visiting your Chevy dealership, and I'm looking for an SUV for my family. And what do you have to show me? Well, we've got the one.
We have the one.
This is it.
Thanks for coming in.
You need to drive the one.
Okay,
Come
I'm
drive the
over
one.
This showed up in the press rotation, and I think we both were like, oh, good. Another 5-seater. And when we hadn't
Tamp
driven...
down that enthusiasm.
Yeah, when we haven't driven... And we say that, look, it's great to get all these press cars. It's interesting to compare them all, but this is the segment that suffers from the most, this is just like what everybody else made. And it's just not interesting. And the problem is, the place they get interesting is when they get really expensive.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
80 grand, 100 grand. You get like the GLC that competes with this from Mercedes,
yeah.
or the X3 from BMW, and you trick those out and you're going to spend 80
They're
plus.
excellent.
But they're now really fun to drive, and they have 5 seats. Once I start to think of it in those terms, then I start to feel like this starts to make real sense. Because if I'm going to compare it to the GLC or the X3 or those kind of things, full-on performance SUVs from a German manufacturer that are going to be $20,000 plus more than this to get a good performance version.
Yeah.
The materials feel like a cheaper car in here, yes.
They do.
But you get a lot of performance here. And what's key is that RS trim. Because it gets you that big V6. It makes it close to 48 grand, which is problematic, but it also gets you a torque vectoring rear axle.
Which is special.
What is that doing in this segment? What is that doing in this car?
That's the Camaro influence.
Isn't that crazy?
The marketing people influence the engineers?
That's insane to me that we've got a torque vectoring rear axle that helps this handle so well.
Yes.
This has more aggressive dampers that still give it a good ride because you got the RS trim. Suddenly, this segment where everything is sea of sameness to the point of boredom has got a standout because they have a few little things that you're paying for, but compared to the Germans you're not, and compared to everybody else you're paying a little bit more, and now it's like, well, this is decent to drive. And I didn't know I missed this. A V6 naturally aspirated. I didn't know I missed one until I got in this.
Yeah.
Because the 2-liter turbo is great. It moves all of these big SUVs. Everybody has one. Turbo has a feel, but there's a urgency to a larger engine. Cause I feel like the turbos are like a scalded animal. They like all of a sudden you surprise them and they're like really, really angry. Okay?
Cattle prod on the end of a squirrel.
Seriously, this just feels like a big creature that has power.
Yeah.
It's a different feel than those little turbos. And getting into a over 300 horsepower, naturally aspirated V6, even with us at altitude, this just has a power presence in it. It is that old, tired thought about American cars, no replacement for displacement. It is that feel is here.
Yeah,
in a 5-seat SUV.
That's a great point,
and I couldn't put my finger on it initially because I was like, why does this feel so different? And I was like, it's because it's not turbo. That gives a different feel.
And it's got good power.
Yes, absolutely. Because not turbo normally, what does that mean? It means less than 200 horsepower and you're waiting for it to show up, you know. So that's really interesting. This does, again, it's tapping into a little bit of that muscle car feel. And I can't believe that they succeeded there that well. I'm really genuinely surprised.
That's an excellent point.
Okay, here we go. V6.
All right. Make it happen. Make it happen. And
I got to shift with my thumb.
That even sounds good.
Yes. Yes.
That even sounds good.
Yes, it does.
Oh, wow.
And
yes.
genuine power, good exhaust note. Who knew this was hiding in this segment? Now, you have to spec it right. If you can get the 2-liter engine in this without the rear axle, and it will be back to looking cool and driving kind of boring. You have to spec this right. But it's like getting the M version of a BMW or the AMG version of a Mercedes, which will cost you 25, 50, 100% more than this, to get something where you go, yeah, I'm going to surprise myself with how it drives. My problem here is that compared against most of the segment, this should be 42. But when you compare it to the stuff above that I'm talking about, and you look at 48, you go, well, now maybe I got something for my money.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, definitely. It really is about what you're going to put it up against. And I continually am surprised by how cool this is to drive.
Yeah, it's cool to look at.
Yeah.
It's cool to drive. It's great to ride in.
Yeah. I can't believe the rear space. The rear space, this,
fantastic.
The only thing I can think of that was close to this was that Honda Passport we drove, which was the Pilot chassis made into a 5-seater. That has this kind of space.
It's the same
It's
kind
got
of thing.
a lot of space
When
in
you
the
start
back.
with the 7-seater, you
and you
down
just
a
go
little
with
bit,
5, you go, hey, look at what we got. We got a lot. It's great. There's a few things here that I do find questionable. One is the actual mode switch here. I'm going to be picky.
Oh, yeah.
The mode switch doesn't feel very good, and it should be a toggle, and it's not. My point here is you would think it would work like a rotary knob.
Oh,
You're in first position, second position, third position. That's what just makes ergonomic sense. You have to flick it with a flick, and it flicks to the new one. Flick it again, flicks to the third position, which is almost impossible to do quickly or exactly. So annoying considering the fact that you need to get in this car and put it directly into the race flag sport mode, because that creates all-wheel drive with the good torque vectoring rear, and that's how you should drive this car all the time.
Constantly.
And I'm sitting at the driveway every time going, no, oh, I went too far. Got to go back one. Got to go. Yes, you got to hit it. You got to let it think. No, I went too far. Okay, got it. Oh, that's a weird annoyance, but it is there every single time you turn the car on.
Some of these plastics in here do feel cheap.
Yes.
And they feel like just about every other GM vehicle. I'm trying to put my finger on why I like it, and I'm okay with that in here, and I think it's because of how this thing drives. It's the effort that GM put into making this drive well. It looks great. This is a great SUV. And so many people have asked us on the podcast, guys, are there any fun SUVs left out there? Are there any fun SUVs available that drive well? And I can definitely put this in the category. This is the one to buy.
I agree with you. I also think that
this is it.
The Camaro Dash, which is very much stuck on to a lesser vehicle. The Camaro Dash in here is interesting.
Yeah.
And it has different thinking of both materials and shapes than you would normally put in an SUV. This was the problem. Whoever had this, thank you, and I know you were annoyed. You were told, I need you to take the Camaro interior and put these pieces that are already built, we're already mass producing, and I need you to put them in a truck. And somebody went and got themselves another strong cup of coffee and said, dang it, and set about doing that. But they succeeded.
The car people at GM, they get one by the management every so often. And we win. We're all better for it.
The 5-seat Camaro is a success. Who knew that marketing pitch was going to be successful? I'm telling you, when I heard 5-seat SUV Camaro, I went, sure you did.
Exactly.
Sure you did. And somehow they kind of did.
And it's not just vents either.
It's not just vents.
They're
still at my knee. They should be higher. But anyway.
Well, you know, you got this screen.
It happens.